Welcome to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. Still no Tony this week, but we'll be back next week to resume hosting and, more importantly, pod editing. But as usual, we have Ben. Are you there, Ben?
I'm here, mate.
And we have a special guest in Tony's absence.
It's me!
Please give a warm welcome to Connor, blogger extraordinaire, stepson of Flowerpot Man, and all-round good guy. Connor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, James. Thank you for having me.
Pleased to have you on, mate. Before we get into the pod, I'm just going to welcome a couple of new patrons to us. We've got Pete Franklin and Barry McCormack. So, Connor, I'm sure most people in the Dream Team community know who you are now with your excellent blogs and your Twitter presence. But just in case there's not anyone out there that does know you, we're going to ask you a couple of introductory questions. How long have you been playing fantasy football, Connor?
Right, well, this season, I think it's going to be my fourth season playing any sort of fantasy football. But the first season, I did a joint team on Dream Team with my dad. So I wasn't really controlling the team for myself. It was like a split 50-50. Should we do this move? Should we not? But for the last 3 seasons after that, it's just me. So I'm relatively new to the whole fantasy football thing. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I'm learning quite quickly. And I mean, that's proven with the responses I get from my blogs.
Yeah, you come across as very knowledgeable for someone who's not been in the game for very long, Connor. Are you in a mini league with your dad now? Are you playing him as a rival?
Yes, we've got this TK Maxx League for all the TK Maxx workers, which I've snuck into. And I'm currently, I think, like 4th in that, so not the best. But I comfortably get some money each year, so it should be fine.
Yeah, still early days, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah. How did you get on last season then?
Oh boy, I've been looking forward for this question. Last season, if you read the blog, I came 300th at one point in the overall, and I think that was like near Christmas. But then I dropped off like a waterfall or something. I went top 5k at the end of the season, which is not great whatsoever, and I blame that down to the Chelsea block. The Chelsea block crippled me, especially against Brentford.
Yeah, it was a time where if you wanted to try and gain some places, Chelsea block was one of the options to go for, wasn't it? Because everyone was on Liverpool.
Yeah, I just got crippled, and then I also went with punts like Elise, and then I put Forster in to try for Maras, and then Maras just went on like a 10 game of blanks, so it'll rough.
Yeah, just unlucky, mate.
Could have gone the other way, mate. I was a bit unlucky. I made similar moves to yourself, and that screwed me as well. So I know where you're coming from. Right, let's have a look at your team, Connor. We've got a screenshot here. Do you want to take us through your team?
Gladly. First up, the best player in the team, Nick Pope, the budget enabler we all need, the set and forget keeper for the full season. I firmly believe, he's going to get a rating next week against Man City, just because I feel like we'll get peppered, but Pope's that good, he'll get quite a few saves off. And I'll be happy with a 3-point gain just from saves. So I got Pope with a 13-pointer, the only reason why we got a point against Brighton. Mm-hmm. And then Saliba, he scored a goal, but it was in his own net, so that was shocking. And then Matty Cash, who I will be jumping off of, but at least he got a rating from me. Villa just looked poor. I don't like Villa anymore. And Robertson, yet to play. Sterling, who looked absolutely poor, and I said to James in the WhatsApp group, that it looks like I'm not getting anything from him, then all of a sudden he got an assist. So it was a tactical jinx on my behalf. And then the second best enabler in the whole game, Mbumo. He got a goal against Man United, and it was a beautiful goal. It had me jumping out my chair.
I've got him in 8 out of 10 teams. I was very happy with that goal.
I was buzzing. My dad was like, look at me like, what are you doing? Why are you dancing over Mbumo? And then Mahrez, disappointed by him. The 90 minutes, he just looked shocking against Bournemouth. And I just don't like looking at Mahrez as much anymore. So I think I'll be swapping him out.
Hey, Connor, what about, he was like the assister, wasn't he, for the third goal, for Foden's goal? Did you notice that? He like crossed the ball to De Bruyne, and then De Bruyne put it in for Foden.
Yeah, I noticed that, but he just frustrates me, stuff like that. That's why I don't have Odegaard in the team.
Yeah.
And then I've got Saka. He got 0 points, but I have faith in him. I think Tomiyasu should be back next game. And I think Tomiyasu will make Saka play better going forward, because I feel like Saka is covering for Ben White a bit more because he's not used to being at fullback. So I give him Bournemouth and Fulham till you think about shipping him out.
Yeah.
And then up top, we've got Haaland, who I've just put in for Kane. We know how that went.
Can't believe that.
But I think a lot of managers went that way, so I don't blame myself.
Yeah.
And then Jesus with a 22-pointer. I saw that coming. Everyone was taking him out for Nunez, making a little bit of a knee-jerk move. But Jesus came and provided the points. So happy with Jesus. And then got Salah, who... It's Salah. He's not going to leave my team, and he's not played. So I can't really talk on him.
Nunes is going to get a hat-trick tomorrow, Connor.
If he does, I'll happily eat my words, and I'll take the abuse on Twitter.
No, well done for sticking with Jesus. It was I thought about that switch as well. I think I did it in one of my teams as well, so that's annoying. Any transfers so far in this team that you've made?
Yeah, I've done Kane to Haaland, and then for this week coming, I'm thinking of Mahrez to KDB, Sterling to Kulusevski, and Cash to Sessegnon maybe, because he's like the only cheaper player who seems to be getting quite a bit of game time, and even when he's getting subbed on or whatever, he could get 5 points. And I think that will set me up quite well.
Yeah, decent moves that, I think. Cool. Ben, how did you get on?
Well, 20 points so far. Not great. But I've got 2 players to play still. Got Salah and Trent still to play. So I've got Kane and Haaland up front. 2 points for Haaland, 8 points for Kane. Lingard was assisting the assister, if you want to say that. Well, he shot, bounced off the defender, and then is it Awiniyi? I can't even say his name. Awiniyi or something like that. He scored the goal. Yeah, so he didn't get anything for that. Mbumo got 5 points for a goal. Do you not think this week the ratings have been a bit fishy?
Yeah, they have. There's been some strange ones, hasn't there? Normally, if you score a goal, you're pretty much guaranteed a 7 rating, especially if you don't pick up any cards or anything. I mean, Mbumo, I was amazed he didn't get a 7. And there was a few other... Did you spot any other weird ones, Ben?
No, but like Mbumo was 6.58, which is way off a 7.
Yeah.
Like you'd think he'd get a 7, especially for a 4-0 win, and you'd think the whole team would be on 7s at least. Man City as well, they won 4-0, and a lot of their players were off it, well off the 7 rating. It's like they had somebody else doing it this week or something on who scored.
Well, it's
so
supposed
strange.
to be an algorithm, isn't it? So there's no human intervention. But I guess they could have changed the algorithm.
Even Arsenal, hardly any 7 ratings. Only 4 players got it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I saw that as well. I thought it was odd.
Talking about Man City.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, James.
That's all right.
I thought it was quite impressive, actually, that Haaland even got a 6.7 rating because he only touched the ball 9 times. I think that's crazy how he even got that high for touching the ball so little times.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he had hardly any touches, did he? He's just that. He's like an old-fashioned goal hanger, just waiting to pop the ball in the back of the net. Not quite getting the service today. Well, yesterday at least. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
He got the assist though, didn't he? That probably got a little bit of a rating, but
Yeah,
not enough for a
true.
7. Let's see. Kulusevski I brought in for Sancho. Had 500,000 in the bank. That's just I brought him in on Thursday night to get the price rise and keep him in for future. So for the next month or so. Sessegnon got -1, but he's just an enabler in there, and he started again today, and he'll come off the bench if Perisic plays, because Perisic won't play the full game. I wouldn't imagine when he plays. Cancelo got 7, and Meslier got -1. So not too good, but I'm hoping that Salah and Trent can pull some out of the bag tomorrow.
Well, you've done better than me, Ben, because you've got 70 points now over the first 2 game weeks, 20 points this week. I've got half that. I've got 35 points so far.
I've just seen now, yeah. God.
For out of the 2 game weeks. I do have 3 players to play. I'm praying that Liverpool absolutely whoop Crystal Palace because I've got Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, and Salah to play. But I'm having an absolute mare of a start to the season. But well, with this team anyway. And to be fair, I haven't had a great start with most of my sides. Partly, I think I mentioned it last week. I'm quite heavy on Spurs defenders and Liverpool, so there's still, the game week's not over. But yeah, not having the best of starts this year compared to last year where I was flying. So yeah, I've still got my triple up in with Spurs defence. Lloris, Doherty, and Sessegnon. Doherty's an annoying one. I thought, after Conte's comments about him effectively being first choice, I did think he would come back in a bit sooner. So I've got an issue there, but he's only 2.4 million, so there's not a lot of options unless I want to switch him to Elliott tomorrow. I'm tempted to not do that because I've already used 3 transfers in this side, and I might want to use the last 2 to make 2 moves, if you know what I mean, because there's looking like there might be some essential, or these very good value defenders that might be, Cucurella at 3 million I'm thinking about. 3 million for a Chelsea defender is pretty good, and if Fafana goes there as well, then I think he'll be essential because he's cheap as well. So yeah, so far 13 points. Unlucky for me. Lloris and Sessegnon got -1s. Doherty didn't play. Robertson and Trent still to play in tomorrow. Dewsbury Hall 0, and Buemo 5. Kulusevski 0. Salah still to play. Kane got me 8. Haaland got me 2. So yeah, not having the best of starts. The 3 transfers I've made in this team to gain a bit of value and sort of move things around a bit was I did Diaz to Kulusevski, Sancho to Dewsbury Hall, and Jesus to Haaland. That's now hurting quite badly. But moving on swiftly. We will kick off with the listener questions. And Tatler's been on. Are Man United players a no-go this season? Can the new manager turn it around after 2 bad defeats?
Yeah, at the moment for me, definitely avoid, especially when they're playing Liverpool next. Yeah, get rid. I'd be selling them. If you got like Sancho, like I had, or Rashford, or whoever you got, get rid of them. Definitely. Was it the -3 for like De Gea, Dallo, everyone in the defence? So yeah, they're not looking great, and the fixtures getting worse next week. So, what do you think, James?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Time to ship. If you've got any left, I got rid of. Unfortunately, I had Sancho in quite a few teams. I got rid of him in all bar one, and I think I'll probably get rid of him in the one that's remaining as well after that performance. Um, I did hear Ten Hag had them in for extra training today. He
Really?
wanted them to run the distance uh, that Brentford ran more than they did during the game today to try and punish them.
Brilliant.
Yeah. This is a question for Connor, really. I think from Amal again. Which Newcastle players should we bringing into Dream Team?
Right, well, I'll try to be as like unbiased as possible. I'd say the only one really I'd consider is Nick Pope. I think he's the best asset by far, just because he's cheap. He's going to play every game. I'm not sure if he'll play cup games. That might be Dubravka. But yeah, he hasn't conceded a goal in the Newcastle shirt. That's impressive as it is. And yeah, he's just very impressive. If you're feeling a bit ballsy, then you can go for cheap enabler like Miggy. I love Miggy. He's going to play a lot of games this season, I think, unless we sign a right winger. He's 1.6 mil. Or you can even go with Joelinton. He's currently 2.7 mil, and I've got some stats for him. In the second half of last season, he had 27 attempts on goal and 18 chances created from the midfield. He's had more shots than Maxi and created more chances than the great Bruno G. I'd just be wary, as I think he might go down 0.1 this week due to his yellow card when he was trying to scrap Solly March.
Cool. Thanks, Connor. Anything to add, Ben?
No, I think you covered it there. Definitely Pope is the best Newcastle asset for me. Like you said, it's just great price, and he's a star man magnet in Dream Team, and he got a star man again this week.
Cool. Okay. David's been on. How are you looking to target European games next month? Europa League and conference group stages could see a lot of rotation like the domestic cups. Could there be cheapies to target who will start those games? I could see Nketiah getting a hatful for Arsenal, or would you be targeting Champions League starting players where possible, as they are likely to play both at the weekend and midweek games? Ben, what do you reckon?
Yeah, like you say, with the best players, obviously the Champions League players you want in your team, because I have a feeling, like he's just mentioned there, that players like Jesus will get rotated, not rotated, but like rested for the Europa League, and then you'll see players like Nketiah playing. Um, it's a tricky one. Like, do you really want to use one of your free striker spots for Nketiah? I mean, he could go off and score a few goals, but he ain't going to play in the league. So it's a one game gamble, really. And I don't know, like, you probably got Martinelli is around a similar price as Nketiah. You'd rather have Martinelli in your team. But a lot of people will be free heavy up front, even like 5 million plus strikers. So yeah, I'd be looking at that, and maybe in September you could like move off Jesus and go to one of the Champions League strikers. They'll play twice a week.
Okay. Anything to add on that one, Connor?
Not really. I agree with Ben. He's ticked it all really. I just wouldn't go for any players like Nketiah. I'd stick with like the Champions League sides because they don't tend to rotate that much, and you can target some players who will play both fixtures.
Yeah, I'd agree with both of you on that one as well. David's got another question. Where do you rate Gundogan in the midfield options for 4.5 million and lower? Connor, what do you reckon?
I think he's a good option if you want a cheaper way into the City attack. With the way City seem to be setting up in the last two games, I think it helps his position in terms of attacking returns because when I've watched him, he seems to get quite a few shots off and he's involved in that attack quite a bit, but you can say that for most City players. I can see him getting a decent amount of points though throughout the season. It just depends when, because he gets quite a few purple patches. He's a very patchy player.
He is, isn't he? And it only takes a formation tweak or something from Pep to completely nullify him as an option. We've seen this in previous seasons. Um, I would say he looks like a decent option this year. I think Bowen is potentially his main rival in that price bracket. Ben, have I missed anyone or any thoughts? Any other thoughts that we haven't covered on this one?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. So yeah, definitely a good price if he's 3.9, and if he's playing as a number 8, and he's coming in late doing the old Lampard runs into the box, scoring goals like he did Saturday. Yeah, he's definitely an option. Cheap, like you say, cheap way into the Man City midfield. I still like Saka for 4 million. He's on penalties for Arsenal. He's a good price. Uh, Obviously hasn't pulled up any trees yet, but like you say, yeah, Connor's got him in his team, and he's going to give him a couple more games because
Yeah.
he's got good fixtures. And yeah, Bowen's got two double game weeks over the next two fixtures. Hopefully, if he plays in the Europa Conference.
Cool. Thanks, chaps. Dream Team Patrick's been on. With Arsenal scoring freely and potentially their easiest fixtures coming up, can I justify Salah or Haaland to Jesus, and in turn to boost my potential weak links in my lineup, i.e., that would enable me to do a Bailey to a Foden or Mahrez? What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. That I still like Kane, Salah, Haaland as my favourite three, but Jesus is knocking on the door now. It's a tricky one because I think in September you will want to move back off of Jesus because if he's not playing 2 games a week, then you'll want to try and maximise that by having a Champions League striker. So I probably wouldn't do that. What do you think, Connor?
I will glad that James asked you this first because I was struggling with the answer myself. It's that tricky. I don't know. It's very dependent on what you fancy. I mean, Foden and Mahrez, they're good on the day, but the gambles either way when you pick them because they might not play. They're both patchy players. They're as patchy as you can get.
I mean, sorry, Connor. I mean, short term, look at that Bournemouth, Fulham, Villa. You could do it for August, but it's going to cost you 2 transfers to do that, and then you're going to try and get the hopefully Jesus' price will go up, and then you can jump across straight in one transfer to a Champions League striker. But I don't think he'll go up that much. He might go up to about six maybe 5.9 or something. But yeah, you could do that, but it's going to cost 2 transfers, like you said.
It is a tricky question. I think you guys have answered it very well. I would say it's very, and we're all guilty of this, myself included, is that it's very easy to look at a player that's had a really good scoring week and think, God, I've got to get him in, or he could replace another big hitter or whatever. It's still early in the season. Is he going to continue in this form? there's no doubt he had a very good game. I could have had a hat trick, but it, I don't know. It feels a little bit knee jerky. See, Tobbs has been on. My question to you, lads: get KDB in now at all costs? Question mark. He will be 7 or 7. He will be 7.3 million by Friday, and he looks to be only going up for me. What do you think, Connor? KDB?
Yeah, 100%. Get him in all of your teams for me. It looks like he's going to be on fire, and he's had an injury-free pre-season. Other seasons, he's been having a bit of a few niggles in pre-season and parts of the season. If he stays fit, he could be the top scorer in the whole of Dream Team. I think at 7 mil, we need to jump on him before he rises.
Yeah. Ben?
Well, yeah, if you could fit him in, but it might cost you a couple of transfers. Like, I'm hearing a lot of people saying on the Discord, "Oh, I'm going to sell Trent to go to KDB," and I just think that's a bit of a sideways move. Like Trent's like a midfielder, and he's got the bonus of having clean sheets as well. It's a tricky one. Like Cancelo as well. Cancelo's got an assist at the weekend, and he could get clean sheets. So it's a tricky one. I don't know how you're going to fit him in. You're going to unless you go like and drop 2 transfers and go Martinelli up front and then put De Bruyne in midfield. But yeah, what do you think,
Yeah, I
James?
mean, he's when the game launched, he was one of the first players I looked at. I'm like, I really want him in, and then you see his price at 7 million. He's difficult to get in, and there aren't that many high priced midfielders that are in his bracket. So if he got injured, for instance, you'd also have to be making even more transfers again. If he was out for 2 or 3 games or something or longer, you've got to restructure your team to get him in. It's not a straight swap. That's what I think I'm trying to say. So yeah, no doubt he's a great option. He's definitely a differential at the stage because I don't think he's that highly owned. Certainly amongst the engaged players that I chat to on a regular basis. If you can get him in, I would not stop you from doing it, mate. But yeah, it's going to be tricky. You're going to have to sacrifice somewhere, I think. Connor's stepdad, Flowerpot Man's been on.
Here we go.
Is it time to jump on Cresswell? I personally think 2.4 million is a bargain. Cornet may take a bit of his time take a bit of his time off in Europe, but he could easily slot back in for those 3 games. So I think, yeah, I mean, obviously with West Ham having these potential extra fixtures in the Europa Conference. Guys, what do you think? Connor, do you think Cresswell's a good option at 2.4 million?
Certainly a tasty price for him because he's playing in Europe, or would have thought. Like Tom said on his question, that he can slot in the back 3, and I think he could because I think they're struggling with injuries at the back at the minute, so I think he'll be filling in. And he's on corners, he's on some free kicks. For 2.4, I don't know what else you'd want. And other than a few stinky fixtures mixed in with his fixtures, they're all pretty nice. I'd go for him.
Yeah. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, he's a great option for 2.4 million, and obviously, like you say, you got Europa Conference games. They've got so many injuries at the back as well, West Ham, so I can't see them rotating in Europe at the moment. So he should play 2 games.
Because they've been playing Ben Johnson in the back 3 with Cresswell. So does that concern you with that they've obviously with so many defensive injuries, he might appear to be a great option, but perhaps they might be a bit more frail at the back.
Yeah, that's a good point. But where they're playing Viborg, is it from Denmark? I would imagine they should be able to get clean sheets against them.
I hope so.
Brighton's a tough fixture
Yeah.
though, as they've shown so far this season, and then Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea. So yeah, they're quite tricky.
Okay.
But yeah, like you say, extra games, and it's 2.4 million, so it could be a good enabler.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good price. If you've got spare transfers and you haven't spunk them all, then I don't think that's a bad move, and it could potentially pay off. And he's a decent option anyway. Amin Tatner said, "Any transfer regrets, chaps?" Connor, have you brought in anyone that you wish you hadn't?
Not really, but it's we're only on the second week of the season. It's going to be hard to regret many transfers if you've made any. Some people might not have even made any. So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to put in someone I regret.
Yeah. What about you, Ben? Any transfer regrets so far?
Just the same one I said last week, where I had Maddison in my team and then I took him out on the last day or something and put in Diaz for Maddison because of the same price, and I just thought Diaz will have more games, but because he's in Europe. But yeah, Maddison's more of a star man magnet. He got 10 star mans last year. Obviously, he's like the best player at Leicester at the moment. So yeah. I wish I could put him in for the start of the month and then moved off him when the European game started.
Yeah, no, he's looking good, isn't he, Madison? I moved.
Yeah, I know yours is
exactly.
Jesus.
Moving Jesus to Haaland doesn't look like it's a bad week to do it. There's always the danger that that's going to happen with any individual transfer. It may turn out to be a good one in the long term, but only time will tell. Aman's also said, "Not much from Saka. Should I be worried?" Well, I think I know Connor's answer to this, so I'm going to you, Ben.
Yeah, like Connor said before, that the fixtures for Arsenal are great, and he's on penalties. I expect him to do really well. I think he's a brilliant price. I've got him in most of my teams, so yeah,
only
great
2
player.
points so far, despite all those goals they're scoring, though. But like Connor said, with Tomiyasu back, that might make a difference to Saka's output. So we'll only see, and their fixtures are bloody lovely, aren't they? Let's be honest. So probably hold, I think.
Definitely a hold.
Andy Barnett's been on. Game week 1, a lot of transfer talk of Jesus and Kane getting the goals. As it turned out, Kulusevski, Nunes and Haaland took all the plaudits. Game week 2, everybody's talking about Nunes, Kulusevski and Haaland being the must-haves in your team. So far, Haaland hasn't even scored, though City won 4-0. Jesus put in a fabulous display, assisting 2 and scoring 2, and Mitrovic got a -4 for his performance. What advice would you give everybody to stop us from potentially jumping on and off the flavour of the week and getting stung? Ben?
That's another tough question. I personally like to target the fixtures. So, like, Haaland was playing Bournemouth this weekend. It was an obvious transfer to bring Haaland in, and look at the result, 4-0. But somehow Haaland didn't score. It's just the way it is. It just didn't work out this week. Next week, Jesus has got Bournemouth, so people will be clamouring to get him in after his 22-point score. But it's that's what I do. I target the fixtures and the volume of fixtures.
I like the way you analyse the decision and not the outcome, because you're right. The decision was Haaland's playing what looked like a poor Bournemouth side. It seemed like a no-brainer. The fact is, he didn't score particularly well, but that was the outcome wasn't great. But the decision-making process there was fairly sound, I think. Anything to add on that one, Connor?
I think Ben's spot on. He's covered most of it. I'd just say go with the eye test, because if you're watching a game and thinking they look absolutely phenomenal, must have in your team, go for it. You've only got your thing to blame. Then you're not jumping on any bandwagons. You're not being a sheep following the transfer trends. You just go for the players you think are performing well.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Lee Hooper's been on. Probably the most unlucky player of last season, where every move he seemed to make went to the pot. This year, I see he's riding high, so I'm just glad to see that, Lee. And Lee says, I have a bit of a conundrum. I have 5 transfers left in my best team, and I'm conscious that I need to make some value. I have Ramsdale, Gabriel, Zinchenko, and Saka, who will likely to lose value. Would you take any of those out in order to gain short-term value, Ben?
That's another tough one. Like, in an ideal world, you just keep them because they've got Bournemouth next and then Fulham. But obviously, with this World Cup coming up in December, you want to make a bit of value in your team. So unless you're happy with your team, then I wouldn't make any transfers if you're happy with your team. But because the fixtures are great and they'll get value from the next game. If you expect them to get a clean sheet against Bournemouth, you'll get your rises from that, and then Fulham, so on. Yeah. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I just personally, I just won't touch the Arsenal defence for the fixtures coming up. You can always use them 5 transfers if you still have them at the end of the month to set yourself up nicely for the month after. And I do think Arsenal will get quite a few cleans the next few games, so I just won't touch. They might go down, say 0.2 this game, but then the 2 after, you could get another plus 0.6 from them. So I just keep them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Bournemouth, Fulham, and Aston Villa next. And then there's still time to use those transfers this month to gain value elsewhere, or like Connor said, at the end of the month. So don't make transfers for the sake of it. They're all good players, those players that you've mentioned, and especially with those fixtures, I would hold fast for now. Question for Ben from Aman. With Fofana potentially leaving Leicester, a nice defender to target if he goes to Chelsea?
Well, I've been at work all day, so I don't know what's been going on. Have you heard anything, boys?
So what happened at the end of the game? Fofana went over to the away end, and he waved at the crowd, and he was the only player to do that. It looked like he was saying goodbye, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, apparently Rodgers made him do that at the last game as well at home to Brentford. He sent him out to say to wave to the crowd. Apparently, the last 2 games he just walked straight down the tunnel. He got sent back out again or something.
And it was this time it was just Fofana. Was it just Fofana the last time as well?
No, I think it was the players were all shaking hands, and then, this against Arsenal, players were all shaking hands, and Fofana went over to applaud the away fans, Leicester fans, and then obviously the Leicester players. Yeah, I've seen the video, but it's like snipped before the Leicester players go over.
Right.
What I've heard so far is that Fofana's not too fussed about the move. He's not too fussed about moving this season because Leicester said give us another year. But it's his agent is trying to push the move through. His agent wants him to move to Chelsea.
Agents don't make any money unless players move.
Exactly.
That really annoys me about agents. That does.
Yeah.
It's not on, is it? The players should be the ones in control. And I guess he's still a young guy. He shouldn't be pushed around by his agent. I would be annoyed if that's the case, but I would not be surprised if that was the case.
He wants to get into the France squad for the World Cup, and it's a tricky one because if he goes to Chelsea, he might get rotated and won't play as much. But if he stays at Leicester, he'll play every game, so he'll get noticed more. It's a tricky
Yeah.
one. He's definitely going to go on to bigger and better things, but I think he should stay another season. But we'll see. He's the most likeliest one to leave out of all these big rumours, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I hope he stays for your sake, Ben, because he's a good player. Cool.
It's going to be a record-breaking fee as well. Going to beat the Harry Maguire fee
Yeah,
if it happens.
that's another story, isn't it? Cool. A very tricky question here from Dream Team Professor. Hi, lads. Rank who's going to finish with more points, Kane, Salah, or Haaland? And then what is your plan for premium forwards? Will you rotate between fixtures and who's on form, or do you think you'll pick and stick with two or three? As in any game, any one of these three could haul. Connor, first of all, how would you rank those three heavy hitters up top?
Yeah, I was looking at this. I was stuck for a good minute looking at it. I'd go Salah first, and then I'd go Haaland, then Kane. But all three of them will be up there towards the end of the season. I just think once Haaland fully clicks with that City team, I do think he will outperform Kane at times. And then with Richarlison going to Tottenham team, that could stir it up a bit. Like I saw that they went to a 4-4-2 against Chelsea today. So that could either hurt or boost Kane, really, but it's more, I don't know, a bit of an unknown. And I think my strategy would be to go 2 out of the 3 strikers and maybe a 5 Miller, Nunez or Jesus, and then just rotate the big hitters with fixtures. Because I don't like the team balance with all 3 up top. The rest of the team just seems to go to crap then.
That's a good point. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, it's very tricky. I've got Salah in every 10 teams, so I would say that's probably my number one. Then it's like Kane's a star man magnet. He got 10 star mans last season. He's on penalties for Tottenham, looking very attacking now. And Haaland is just playing up front for Man City, but there's so many stars in that team. Like, the star man points can go anywhere. That's the reason why Kane always seems to be up there, because he's always the star man for Spurs. It's like between him and Son or Kulusevski now. But I'd probably say at the moment Salah, Haaland, Kane. At the moment, it's hard though.
Yeah.
But like he said, like we said before, just look at the fixtures and who do you think's going to hold. Then you think they've got a nice run of fixtures, bring them in, and then when it turns back the other way, then jump on the player you had before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I've gone for Salah, Kane, Haaland. But it is a really difficult question.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane is the talisman. I suppose Sonny's getting more limelight these days. But Kane's been the talisman at Spurs for some time. And like you said, Ben, it's a very good point that in that City team, anyone could end up with that star man on any one occasion. So Salah, Kane, Haaland for me. FPL Posty's been on. Do you persist with Mahrez? A late cameo versus West Ham and a very underwhelming performance in the 4-0 win against Bournemouth. Connor, what do you reckon?
I'd love to say yes to this question, but I can't because I'm thinking about dropping him myself. I just wasn't impressed at all with his performance against Bournemouth. I thought he'd at least get some sort of attacking return, but he didn't even get a rating. So I think like I said before in the podcast, that I'm going to go Mahrez to KGB and find the funds elsewhere, because I think KGB will play a lot more than Mahrez, and it looks on fire at the minute. I want him before he goes up.
What
I
about
was
you,
literally
Ben?
going to say that, like, if you've got Mahrez, then you should be looking at KDB. Like you say, try and you'll have to do obviously 2 transfers, unless you're a man who's got like 3 million in the bank. Yeah, what do you think, James?
Well, I've only got Morris in one team. I I am concerned about him, not only because of his performances, but I do think Haaland's going to take penalties off of him, and that does dent his appeal. Um, we know, but we do know that he can be the ultimate troll, and he might come on next week and score a hat trick. But at the moment, I'm erring on the side of getting rid, if I'm honest, for the very same reasons as what you guys have said, plus the penalty thing. John Davies been on. Would it be a good idea to transfer in players that are going to rise in price over the next couple of weeks to gain value, then transfer them out when the European Games start? For example, Rodrigo, De Silva, Pope, and Trippier, amongst others. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of jumping on a player just because of the price range. It needs to have another reason on top of the price range, like a player who it looks like he's got really good form. The players listed there, none of them play European football, and I wouldn't like to be transferring those types of players in now when Champions League, Europa League, all that are like round the corner. So if you are going to transfer someone because of a price range, make sure it's someone who you're going to want a bit like longer term.
Yeah. Anything to add, Ben?
Yeah, like you said, target players that are going to go up in price, but obviously with Europe in mind. I don't mind the Pope suggestion because he's cheap and obviously he's a star man magnet. De Silva is what 1.8 million. I don't mind that as well. Trippier's a good player, but like he's 3.3 now, is he? So you probably get a European playing defender for that. But I won't put it past Trippier getting star mans every now and again because he's a top player and he likes a goal and that. But yeah, definitely target European players now. We're only 2 weeks away from September. Yeah, get the European players in.
Yeah, I think you both nailed that one. The only thing I would say is De Silva has a um, expected goal involvement of zero point 0.6 across the last 2 games. So that's 0.3 per game. It doesn't look like he scored 2 goals. It doesn't look
Yeah,
like that's going to be sustainable, as you would expect with a player that is that cheap. But just thought I'd throw that one in there.
yeah. For an enabler though, so you can get like your De Bruyne's
Yeah,
in and your Haaland's in, it's not bad. 1.8 million.
no, that is true.
He's got good fixtures
Yeah.
as well, really good
Yeah,
fixtures.
yeah. Good point, chaps. Ashton, aka Fergie's apprentice. Should we be looking at City block? I can't see them losing.
Most
What do you
definitely.
think,
I think
Ben?
my best team's the Man City blocker that I've got. Yeah, I haven't got Walker. I don't like having Walker in a team for that price. I think I can get a lot better value from a midfielder or whatsoever. But yeah, I've got Cancelo. Ake's a good price. Yeah, definitely look into it. You should have been on it at the start of the season. Really, it's going to cost a few transfers to jump on it now.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? I didn't go down that route, unfortunately, so I wish I had. I'm not sure about Ake with Stones in the background and
No, I just like the City block quite a lot, to be fair. The way they play, it suits clean sheets, and there is control. I think the possession's always above 60% at least. And I will be jumping on Laporte, I think, when he's back, because Laporte, he's got really good attacking threat, and he seems nailed in that City team when he does play.
yeah,
Yeah,
good point.
I was like having Aki at the start of the season because of Laporte's injury and Stones not being able to play the last few pre-season games was a tactic to get price rises on him while he's getting clean sheets. So he's not a long-term hold, but like you'll be able to maybe make 900k on him or something, and then you can move on to Laporte, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with Ake now, it's a bit too late to jump on him. You've already missed your 2 games. John Stones could get involved at some point, or Laporte, I think he's due back at the beginning of next month. So I don't know. I don't see the value in Ake anymore. But I wish I did start with him.
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. It's probably too late now. Stones came on yesterday, so he's clearly getting up to speed. So there's too much doubt there for me. It would great option if you got on him at the start, but probably too late now. FPL now then, young man. He must be a happy chappy, being a Nottingham Forest fan. Are you making plans for Europe and the Carabao Cup? If so, what players are you bringing in? Connor, any thoughts?
European players, I think we've covered that. I don't go for guaranteed starters who'll play League and Europe. And Carabao Cup, I think I've done my prep when I was making my first drafts with the teams. Like I put Mbumo in and a few players. Like originally I had Cash for the Carabao Cup game, but I'm getting rid. They just look too poor to even want to keep him for that. And he's not even guaranteed to play in it. So I wouldn't be putting anyone in right now for the Carabao Cup games.
Yeah, totally agree.
What do you think, Ben?
I'm not targeting Carabao Cup. It's just by this season because the prices of the premium players are so high, especially the defenders. We've had to go for like 2 or 3 enablers that could possibly play in Carabao Cup, like you said, Mbumo. Definitely, I wouldn't be bringing anybody in thinking, oh, he might play in the Carabao Cup because then he won't play. He probably won't play in the league because most of the teams will be rotating their teams for the Carabao Cup. But definitely target European, mostly Champions League players because they are most likely to play two games a week.
I think you've nailed it.
Right,
there,
let's
boys.
have a look at the league tables. We've got the Dream Team Tonic Patreon League. In 10th place, in joint 9th place, we have Connor Tobin and Mick Wright. Joint 7th place, we have Sam Course and Brian Blackett. In 6th place, Lee Uting. 5th place, Wayne Foster Crouch. Joint 3rd, Jake Bevan and Barry McCormack. 2nd place, Paul Young. And top of the shop, Lee Hooper. What a change this is. Come on, son.
Woo!
Keep it up, mate.
In the Dream Team Tonic Cash League, in joint 10th, we have Harry Jones, Ben
come
Lee,
on,
Anthony Sutcliffe. You can do this one, Connor.
Yeah, woo!
In 9th, we've got Tom Brinley. 8th, Alex Cole. 7th, Dan Bartlam. In 6th, Mike Warlow. In 5th, Henry Cartridge. 4th, Graham Payne. 3rd, Matt Blake. 2nd, Leo Reed. And top of the shop, Arwin Vogue. All right, thanks for all the questions that we had submitted today. I did have to cut a few out, I'm afraid, because we had so many questions. So apologise to anyone that we missed off. If you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/DreamTeamTonic. We have some great guys in our Discord, lots of people helping each other out, lots of exclusive articles, and of course, most importantly, early access to this podcast. Don't forget to keep an eye out for Connor's Dream Team blog on the website. And with that, I'll say good night to you, chaps. And thanks to Connor for coming on. Good night.
Thanks for having me, lads. Good night.
Thanks, mate. Top man.
Cheers, boys.